Welcome to How to Become a Production SQL Database Administrator. My name is Rafael. In the previous video, we looked at how to create a virtual machine and we called it Server 1. And we went through these properties and changed the IP address to a static IP address of 51 and changed these configurations. So what I'm going to do in this video now is I'm going to create two more virtual machines, Virtual Machine Server 2 and Virtual Machine Server 3. And I'm going to do it simultaneously so we can get this thing done in one video rather than two. And obviously I'm going to do it side by side, and the only thing we're going to change obviously is primarily the IP address. So let's do that here and continuing this. So it's going to be exactly the same thing that we did in the previous video, but this time I'm going to do it simultaneously. So let's begin. What I want you to do obviously is open the VM workstation and make sure now that you power on the virtual machine called DC. So let's get that going in the background. And as soon as that comes up, what I want you to do while that's going, let's minimize that. Obviously, in order to create another two virtual machines, and since with this particular free application does not have tabs, we have to double click the virtual machine icon again, or the application, open a new window as such, and then I'm going to have to actually do that again for another window so we can create the third application here. And I'll just do it side by side so you can see it. So we'll just call this number 2 and we'll just call this number 3. So let's make sure that is running in the background and let's just check it. And it's still starting. So while that's starting, that's fine. We don't really need that yet because we need only that when we need to create a join domain. So on this particular one, we're going to start with creating a virtual machine. Go next. And again, this is going to be relatively quick and straightforward because we've gone through it many times. So let's just call this Server 2. And once this starts, I'll start with the other one. And we're going to choose the defaults and continue. So that's going to start immediately here. And let's just squish it here a little, and let's just see how that's going along. I just want to make sure that's coming along, and there it is. So the DC is up and running, so we can join the domain. So while that is uploading, I just want to make sure that we can do it simultaneously accessing these Windows 2000 Server application. So while that just comes on, I'm going to start with this here, and then obviously I'll pause the video when the installation begins, and then we'll resume when both of these virtual machines have completed. And then again, we're going to go through this step-by-step process for each server, and we've gone through this before, so you're pretty familiar with it now. So hopefully you'll begin to understand how easy it is to create virtual machines, how to install operating systems, and then how to adapt with the IP addresses and change some of the configurations here in a virtual environment. Now again, most likely you will not be doing this in a job, because most likely if they are using what's called clustered or joined domains, then you will certainly not be doing this. This is mostly related to networking. But again, as I mentioned, as a DBA, it's important that you understand this, and if you have some experience in it, then obviously it helps you getting a job. So let's continue. So that's started to download. So I'm going to start creating a new virtual machine here. Go next, yes. And now we're going to call this Server 3, and we're going to continue. And again, so that's going to take a little time also. And as soon as this starts, so I can make sure that its files are installing, I'm going to pause the video and then we'll come back and we'll continue. So now you can see how easy it is, how quote-unquote easy to do this. And you're getting a tremendous amount of education and experience from doing this. So I highly encourage you to, while you can certainly watch this, I highly encourage you to actually do this, because there's nothing like practicing. The more you practice, the better you're going to become and informed in how to managing this. Then you'll become a better communicator in your IT department and with other managers. So as soon as this starts here, this particular installation Windows, I'll pause the video and then we'll come back and we'll continue. So this should just take another few seconds here. And again, obviously this process of creating virtual machine with operating system doesn't take that long anyway. So there it is. And let this start right here. Get ready files for installation. And then I'm going to pause it. So now you'll see I've got server 2, server 3, and then obviously after we've joined these 3 domains, joined the domain sql.com, we'll have 3 virtual machines and 1 domain controller, as we've mentioned several times. And then what I'm going to do is after that is one by one install, or actually I'm just going to install SQL Server 2014 in one of them, or in 2 of them, and on the third one I'll show you how to do it so you don't have to waste time in doing server 1 and 2. So that's started here. So I'm going to pause this video right now, and then once this completes we'll come back and we'll just finish up these configurations here. So I'll see you in 1 second. Welcome back, and as you can see, server 2 has the operating system and server 3 has the operating system. So now we're just going to go back to our guidelines and our procedures, and we're just going to follow this step by step just like we did in server 1. So make sure the DC is on so we can confirm that. Obviously there's the DC, it's on, so that's fine. The next thing is to do is change the network adapter. So let me minimize this and open these 2 and we'll begin. So change the adapter. So let's go to server 2, go to player, manage, virtual machine settings, and go to network adapter and change to bridged and go OK. And then we do need to restart the machine. So I'm going to start it right now so we don't forget. So go here, power, and restart guest and go yes. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Go to player, manage, virtual machine, network adapter, bridged. Okay, and then we're going to restart this also. Let me minimize this, go to player, power, and then restart. So this is going to be a little easier doing it simultaneously rather than doing it individually. So we'll get a little better understanding of what's going on also. So obviously now if you'll notice here, I'm trying to move the mouse here, but you can see it. Sometimes you can't, sometimes you can't. And that's because the virtual machine has captured the mouse when I'm working with it. In order to release the mouse, right now you can't see it again. In order to release the mouse, press Control-Alt simultaneously and you'll see it. So there you go. So that'll release it. So Control-Alt, that will release the mouse to the operating system of your desktop. And so let's see now, obviously I think we're going to be disabling, so we've done this disable firewall on both, and then add the IP addresses. One is going to be 52 and the other one is going to be 53. So as you can see, it's going to become relatively easier as we progress. And then we'll just do the configurations. And then what we're going to do after this, obviously I'm going to install SQL 2014 on server 1 and 2. And then when I get to server 3, I'll demonstrate to you how to do that, even though you know how to do it, and or you should by now. But it's going to be relatively easy to install. 2014 has not changed that much in terms of installation from 2012. And so we're going to just follow the default path and just go OK to everything virtually. But there are a couple of things that we need to do, so I will go over those again. So let that pop-up window come up, make sure it's fully started, and then we can begin. So what do we need to do? We need to disable the firewall. So go here on this number 2, press the window key, go to control panel, categories, small, and you'll see the firewall, and let's disable this right here. And we've gone through again this several times, so this is becoming easier and easier with each step. And go close on this one. Same here, go Windows, control panel, category, small, firewall. So now as you do this with me, and you're probably becoming more and more comfortable with this process and navigating and getting to the firewall through the various applications and various procedures, is becoming easier and easier, and that's what I want you to do, where you'll feel comfortable in navigating even the operating system itself and the control panel and so on. So only practice makes you a better DBA in anything you do, even though if these minor things that we're doing here. So that's the key thing. So now that we've done firewall, we're going to do the IP addresses. The first one is going to be 52. So let's minimize this because we are going to need it. Minimize that. So on here, server 2, right click on this network and go open network and sharing center. We'll do it one by one. Change adapter setting. Double click. Properties. And let's go to IP4. And then obviously we're going to, again, install the IP address. And this is, remember what we said, it's going to be 50. Let's just double check what we said it was. It's going to be 52. So let's do 52 there. 192.168.0.52. Enter subnet. Default gateway is 192.168.0.1. I always like to confirm that. ENS. Let me just look at that to confirm because even I forget sometimes. Let's look at a picture just to get it. So we want, where are we here? On server 1 or server 2. Let's see if we're doing it correctly here. And we want 192.168.0.50, which is the DC, and then 127.0.0.1. And just to verify, this should be 52.168.50, and OK, and go OK, and OK, and close. And that's done here. That's wonderful. So we're going to have to restart that. So let's look at, that was server 2. Let's go to server 3 and do exactly the same thing. So for server 3, right click, open, go to change network adapter, double click, properties, IP4, static IP address, and now we're going to be 53. So let's just double confirm that. For 3, it's going to be 53 for 3. So let's do that. So it's 192.168.0.53. Oops, numbnuts. 192.168.0.53. Subnet automatic. Default gateway 192.168.0.1. And preferred is the DC router, DC 192.168.0.50, and then the alternative DNS is 127.0.0.1. So that looks good also. So we can go OK, OK, and close. And we can close this also. We're comfortable with that. So as you remember now that the next thing is I think we have to restart the VM. So let's start that VM. So let's let me do this here. So go player, power, restart guest, and go yes. And let's do this same thing here. Power, restart guest, and go yes.